And I thought, well, I'm going to go, but I'm not going to talk to him. So we made up, and then I became engaged to him. And we were going to go to Ottumwa, Iowa, for his brother Tom had a girlfriend down there, so we were going to pick her up and come back. And he brought me a diamond, and he asked my mother and father if they could marry me. And I said, you didn't even ask me. And anyway, when we got back from Ottumwa, everybody in town already knew that I got a ring from your grandfather.
How long were you guys dating before being engaged?
Let's see, it was probably about 9 or 10 months.
You got married in 1932.
And when we got back into Des Moines, one of David's sister was having a dinner for us that I didn't know anything about, so we went to the dinner, my parents and I, and my mother said, babe, come in the room, I want to tell you something. So my father-in-law-to-be said, what did you call her, lady? She said, babe. He said, is that her name? And she said, yes. So, okay, he said, that's your name now, babe. And from then on, it was babe.
Can you tell me a little bit about your father?
My father, let's see, what would you like for me?
What's his full name?
Isidore Lipsey.
And he was from?
Originally from Poland, I think. I think that's where he was from.
I think Uncle Al, your brother, has records that indicate exactly where he's from in Russia. But
and he came over, I think he was a young boy. His parents sent him on the ship alone, and he was going to go to some of his aunts to stay, because you had to have someone tell
sponsor you?
Yeah. And so he was telling about some of his events on the ship, and he said they would play blind man tag, and he said they'd hit you so hard you'd have to guess who hit you. And he said his parents must have not been poor, because he wasn't in the poor section, but he liked to play with all the kids in the poor section.
So he came over via a ship?
Came on a ship, and Al knows the name of the ship. And then
Did he speak English?
Probably not. I don't know.
What languages did your father speak? Do you remember?
Probably Yiddish.
Yiddish, and
Probably.
Was his English clear?
You know, he always had an accent.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
He's been gone for so long, I kind of forgotten. But anyway, he went to work for his brother in Chicago, and that's where he met his wife, my grandmother, no, my mother, and
Sadie?
Yeah, Sadie. Because he was married to one of the friends of my mother.
So Sadie was working in Chicago at the time?
No, she was going to school. She was just a young girl going to school. She came over from Europe at an early age, and
That's probably why they had a lot in common. They were both from similar areas over in Russia.
right. And so, like I said, she worked in a millinery shop.
Did you know anything about your grandparents? Did you ever meet your grandparents? Were they?
Yeah, my mother's family.
Okay.
Yes, my grandfather, my grandmother came to Des Moines, and I don't know the year, but Al probably knows.
Do you remember their names?
Yes, Lamb, Lambe.
Okay.
And he had a grocery store at 18th East 18th and Boulevard.
Anything on the Lipsey side? Do you remember your grandfather, Lipsey?
Yes, he was a very religious man, and we came to visit my mother and father, and my mother had to buy all new dishes and silverware because
Kosher?
he was so kosher.
So he was living in Russia and he came to visit you guys?
No, he moved to Chicago
Okay.
with his wife, and then his wife got sick and died. And I met Grandma Lipsey one time. She came to visit with my grandfather. And then when they went back to Chicago, my grandmother got sick and died, and he came back to Des Moines. And my parents introduced my grandfather to the lady, and they got married. And they were married a very short time, and then they got a divorce.
What can you tell me about on the other side, on David Pidgeon's side, his parents, Samuel?
His mother and father had a big family. They had, I think, 13 children. And he worked at the Beatrice ice cream. And he delivered ice cream. And they also had a little grocery store. And my mother-in-law used to run the grocery store. She did not speak, couldn't write English at all, but she remembered in her head what the different people bought, so that when he got home from work, he was able to write it down. And what else do you want to know?
So you knew Samuel Pidgeon. Did you know anyone else, his parents, or?
He had some relatives in Chicago. I met them. I don't remember their names, so.
A lot of things have changed in America in the last 70 years or so. What's different? It seems like it's more commercial, or maybe it was as commercial as it was 70 years ago. Do you remember birthdays being so popular? The holidays, the Mother's Day and the Father's Day. Did they celebrate Mother's Day and Father's Day?
I don't know whether everybody did, but we did. We always celebrated holidays and birthdays and weddings. And we had birthday parties and everything. We celebrated all occasions.
So when you grew up, you were 8, 9 years old, you always had a birthday party?
Right. I remember when we moved from the east side to the west side. We moved to Holland Drive, 4325. And that was after Fran was born. And Fran now, let's see, she's 78 or something. I don't think she's that old to be. Let's see, Al is 5 years younger than I am, and she's 10 years younger. That would be 78, wouldn't it?
Yep, she's 78.
I didn't think she was. When she was born, my parents bought a new location, and we moved out there, and then I went to the movie with my brother Al. And when I came home, when we got home from the movie, they had a surprise birthday party for me. And everyone hid up in the attic. And I was eating an apple, and they all came down and said, my mother told me to go up and get a dry diaper for Francis.